How we are going to be able to provide gainful employment for India's young workforce. Now, the demographics are as follows. For about 20 to 25 years, India has had about 25 million live births a year. So we have a young workforce of about 500 to 600 million people that were born in a time span of about 20 to 25 years. So you know the metaphor of the pig in the python? So when the pig goes through the python, you can see the pig going through the whole system. Well, that's the kind of demographic situation we have in India right now, where we have a very young workforce, which is within a time span of about 20 to 25 years, but there are 506 million of the 100 of these young people who need to be gainfully employed if our economy has to grow and people have to lead prosperous lives. Now, juxtaposition that demographics with organized employment in India right now. In India, we have a workforce of about 500 million people right now, many of which are this cohort that I just described, the young people, because quite a few of them are already in the workforce. But we have a workforce of over 500 million people. Of that workforce, only 21 million right now are in the organized private sector. So they're employed in the organized sector, in private sector employment, only 21 million people. 23.5 million people are employed in government, state, central and local government. So there are more people employed in government than they are in the organized private sector. The rest are in the informal sector. So we really have only somewhere between 45 to 50 million people out of 500 million people, that is between 5 to 10% of our people that are actually in organized employment. And with that as kind of the demographics, let me tell you the politician's dilemma. The politician's dilemma is that young people that are coming of working age or people who are already in the workforce have the expectation that they will find jobs in the organized sector. And as I just explained to you, how small the organized sector actually is. And the expectation of most young people who are going to college and our enrollment ratio, Manish will have the exact numbers. What is the exact number of our gross enrollment ratio, Manish? 23%. So a quarter of people are going into our colleges. So if you have about 20 to 25 million people in every cohort in every year, about 5 or 6 million people are going to college. And of those 5 or 6 million people going to college, the expectation that they have and the expectation that their parents have is that they will have some kind of white collar job. That they will have some kind of white collar job. It will be a job working in some nice corporate campus where they'll be working on a computer and have a car, and then they'll be driving home to a nice flat in a nice suburb and so on. That's people's expectation. But you have to now juxtaposition that expectation against the fact that we have very, very few organized sector jobs. And that is the central challenge that we face as policymakers, is how do you reconcile the reality of organized sector employment with the expectations that our young people and their parents have. And they have actually in many cases invested quite a bit to actually educate these people. So there is this very strong expectation that they will get a white collar job, but we just don't have a way of being able to supply it to them under current course and speed in our economy. Now, as we think about this challenge, I am starting to say that our future of organized employment in India is not in mass manufacturing. And in fact, if you look at the traditional development model, the manner in which the West has developed or North Asia, East Asia has developed, it's the classic farm to factory development model, where people get out of agriculture, agriculture becomes much more productive, you move to industry, you move to cities. And that's the farm to factory model of development that has happened around the world. I don't think that's going to work for India. I don't think mass manufacturing is going to work given where we are in the global economy and the future of work and all the things that my distinguished panelists will speak about. So I'm suggesting, and I'll conclude with this, that rather than a farm to factory mass manufacturing model of organized employment, we have to think of a farm to franchise mass services development model, where we find a way in which people can get jobs in services, so that whether they are in a small village or in a small town, they get jobs as people working in beauty parlors, as yoga teachers, as DJs in villages, as people coaching people to take exams. But we have to find a way in which, through services, we can find gainful employment to all of these young people that are looking for productive work. So we have to find some kind of a farm to franchise model, and I see no reason why we can't have, companies like Ola, which are already franchising people to drive cars, companies that are coming up with other large-scale franchising models, like our telecom companies, like our financial services companies. Why they can't really be the large-scale drivers of employment? I think that is the future: farm to franchise, mass services.